Okay, so I want to start this one a little differently because when most people think about what caused the apocalypse in Toxic Commando, they immediately think about the sludge god, the ancient entity, the corruption spreading across the planet, the thing consuming everything it touches. And sure, the sludge god is the apocalypse, but it didn't get here on its own. Someone let it out, and that someone, the person this whole disaster traces back to, isn't a villain in the way you'd expect. He's not evil. He's not some power-hungry madman rubbing his hands together in a secret lab somewhere. He's a guy who wanted to save the world, and that honestly makes the whole thing so much worse. His name is Leon Dorsey. And today we're going to talk about who he actually is, where he came from, what he was trying to do, why he made every decision he made, and why understanding him changes how you see absolutely everything else in this game. So let's set the scene. The world of Toxic Commando is the near future, and like our world, it has a serious energy problem, oil wars, climate disasters, a civilization that runs on fuel it's slowly running out of, while the side effects of burning that fuel pile up year after year. It's the kind of problem that feels so enormous and so permanent that most people have just accepted it as the way things are. Not fixable, just managed. Leon Dorsey does not accept that. The Leon is the CEO of the Obsidian Group, a multinational tech company he built from the ground up around one specific obsession. He believes there is a limitless energy source buried deep beneath the Earth's surface, deeper than anyone has ever drilled before, something so powerful and so clean that if he can reach it, the energy crisis is over, not managed, over forever. And look, on paper, this guy is not wrong to be ambitious. The problem he's trying to solve is real. The energy crisis in this world is genuinely hurting people. Leon isn't chasing money or power in the traditional sense. He genuinely believes he has the answer, and he genuinely believes the world needs it. That's important to understand about him because everything he does after this point makes a certain kind of sense when you see it through that lens. He's not a bad person, he's a person who is completely certain he's right. So the Obsidian Group starts drilling, and here's where it gets interesting because before the drill even reaches the target depth, something starts happening at the site that nobody quite knows what to do with. Workers start seeing things. Not one worker, not two workers comparing notes after a long shift. Multiple people independently reporting the same experience. When they close their eyes, they see a demonic shape, the same shape described the same way by people who haven't talked to each other about it. Think about being on that team and trying to figure out what to do with that information. Do you report it? Do you shut down the project? Do you chalk it up to stress and keep going? The Obsidian Group keeps going, and then right before the drilling begins in earnest, a group of cultists shows up. These aren't random people. They've clearly been watching the Obsidian Group's operation. They know exactly where Leon plans to drill, and they come with a very specific warning. Something ancient is sleeping at that location, something that has been there long before any of this, and if the drill goes through, whatever is sleeping down there is going to wake up. Leon hears them out. He actually does listen. He's not the kind of person who dismisses things without considering them. And then he decides the cultists are wrong, or at least that whatever risk they're describing is smaller than the risk of leaving the energy crisis unsolved. The mission is too important. The potential upside is too massive. You don't stop something this significant because of a warning from people whose entire worldview is built around an ancient sleeping entity. You keep drilling. October 29th, 2033. The drill breaks through, and you already know what happens from the sludge god video. The black sludge erupts from the breach. The ancient entity stirs. The corruption starts spreading. People start transforming. The world changes in a single day in ways that nobody at the Obsidian Group has any framework to process. But here's the thing I want to focus on. Not the disaster itself, but what Leon does the moment it happens. Because this is the decision that defines him more than anything else. He covers it up. He doesn't call a press conference. He doesn't alert the government. He doesn't warn the surrounding population. He hires a fixer named Gallagher and sends private military teams into the infected zone with one goal: contain this quietly before the world finds out what the Obsidian Group just did. And look, I want to be fair to Leon here because I don't think this decision comes from cruelty. I think it comes from the same place everything else he does comes from. He genuinely believes this is still fixable. That if he throws enough resources at it fast enough, he can clean it up before it becomes a global story. That the situation is bad but manageable. That he can still control the outcome. He's wrong. But that belief, that absolute refusal to accept that something is beyond his ability to fix, is the most consistent thing about Leon Dorsey throughout this entire story. 6 months go by, the private containment teams get infected, the sludge keeps spreading, mutations get worse, strange creatures start appearing around the infected zone that nobody can explain. The cover-up fails slowly, and then all at once, as the scale of the disaster becomes impossible to hide, a massive wall goes up around the infected zone. A physical acknowledgement that this is no longer a cleanup job, it's a quarantine. The Obsidian Group collapses. The company Leon spent his entire adult life building crumbles under the weight of what it accidentally caused, and here's the part that most people gloss over when they talk about Leon. He stays not in a bunker somewhere safe on the other side of the world. He sets up his base of operations inside the quarantine zone, right there. Inside the wall, inside the disaster he created. He could have run. A lot of people in his position would have run. Instead, he stays and he starts trying to fix it. He calls in 4 mercenaries, Walter, Kato, Ruby, and Astrid. He gives them technology that harnesses the sludge energy itself as a weapon and sends them on missions. He runs the whole operation from inside the infected zone, because that's where the problem is, and Leon Dorsey does not manage problems from a distance. Voiced by Piotr Michael, who you might know as the demonic voice in Doom or Lord Arthur in Evil Dead the game, Leon has this commanding presence even in the middle of everything falling apart. He's still the CEO, still giving orders, still running the mission like he believes this is winnable, and in a weird way that's both the most inspiring and most unsettling thing about him, because here's the question that sits underneath all of this: is Leon the villain of this story? On paper it seems obvious. He ignored the cultists, he ignored the workers seeing things when they closed their eyes. He caused the disaster and then covered it up instead of warning people. The apocalypse traces back directly to his decisions, but I keep coming back to the fact that he's still there, still inside the wall, still working, still sending the commandos on missions, still absolutely convinced that Project God Killer, his plan to actually destroy the sludge god, is gonna work. He's not a man who caused something terrible and walked away. He's a man who caused something terrible and decided the only acceptable response was to personally fix it, with whatever resources he has left, from inside the disaster zone, for as long as it takes. And John Carpenter has always been drawn to this kind of character. The person who isn't evil, but whose absolute certainty in their own rightness causes something catastrophic. And They Live, it's the people who keep their heads down and don't look too closely. In Prince of Darkness, it's the scientists who push forward when they should stop. In The Thing, it's the paranoia that comes from not knowing who to trust. Leon is the Carpenter protagonist who caused the problem rather than stumbling into it, and that makes him genuinely fascinating in a way that a straightforward villain never could be, because the cultists warned him directly. Specifically, the workers were seeing the sludge god in their dreams before the drill even broke through. Every signal the universe had available to send him, it sent, and he didn't listen, not because he was evil, not because he didn't care, because he was so completely certain that his goal mattered more than any warning that the warnings simply couldn't get through. That certainty caused the apocalypse, and somewhere inside the quarantine zone, that same certainty is now his only tool for trying to undo it. The most human thing about Leon Dorsey is that he still thinks he can fix this after everything. After the cover-up failed, after the company fell, after the wall went up, and the world outside found out what the Obsidian Group actually did. After 6 months of watching everything he built collapse around him, he still thinks he can fix it. Maybe he can, or maybe the most dangerous thing about Leon Dorsey isn't what he already did. Maybe it's that he hasn't changed. Same certainty, the same refusal to accept that something is beyond him. Same willingness to push forward past every warning because the mission is the mission. The cultists couldn't stop him the first time. What makes anyone think the sludge god is going to be any different? That's Leon Dorsey. Next video, we're going deep on the corporation he built, the Obsidian Group. What it was, how it worked, what it was actually doing before the disaster, and what its collapse means for the wider world of Toxic Commando. Subscribe so you don't miss it, and drop a comment. Is Leon the villain of this story, or just the most catastrophically wrong, well-intentioned person in gaming history? I want to know what you think.